the complication of the system. So efforts has to be done to simplify all these things so that an entrepreneur can easily understand all these regulations and comply. Everybody is willing to comply. I don't think so that nobody is willing to violate the laws, but unknowingly or mistakenly or without knowing the laws, it is hindering the progress of the industries. So it should have been simplified, and the role of the government should be the facilitator, not to create the obstructions. And GS Lohia Girls College has taken the right direction in Atmanirbhar Bharat. We compliment them for such an initiative. It will educate our people, our students, budding students, to be in future entrepreneurs, that what they are to do and what they can do. They have the capacities, and the only simply required is the right direction. So we should show them so that they can become the world leader. For the Assam tea, we have to get it properly marketed, and we have to sell the idea, not the product. Only selling the tea will not require. We have to sell the idea that its health benefit in the COVID period. We have to show the world that it has got the health properties also, which we can market it. And the varieties and the newer product has to be introduced in the world market. By this, we can have the Atmanirbhar Bharat. And recently, the government has banned 120 products not to be imported in the defense sector, which is the right step, because if the scale of production is there, then lot of industries, ancillary industries will come up around the big factories, which will be the major boost to the employment sectors and creating the Atmanirbhar Bharat. With this, I conclude, and thank you very much, GS Girls Lohia College, for acting in the right direction. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mr. Mahavir Agarwal, Chairman, All India Manufacturers Association. It was really a comprehensive speech covering many aspects which really are relevant for our economy, not for the present age, but for the future as well. Now,
Amit, you are not audible.
Lot of audio disturbance is also there. Please check.
अभी clear है. Okay, sorry for this technical glitch. I hope my voice is audible now.
Yes, it's audible.
Oh, oops. So I would thank Mr. Mahavir Prasad Agrawal, the Chairman, All India Manufacturers Organization, for giving a comprehensive insight about what is the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme and what does it mean from the trader's perspective, from the perspective of industrialists. And now there are two special, I would say, dignitaries present with us virtually today would be giving keynote addresses in our session ahead. Professor R.T. Krishnan, Director IIM Bangalore, and Professor P. Nagabhushan, Director IIIT Allahabad. And we look forward, sir, to your addresses in the coming agenda. And there are many students who have joined online through various streaming platforms who are really keen enough to hear from you what are your thoughts and what are your vision regarding this scheme and the overall scenario, economic scenario in the world today. So now moving on to the much anticipated agenda is the keynote address by Professor R.T. Krishnan, Director IIM Bangalore. So before requesting Professor Krishnan to present the keynote address, I would just like to say something regarding the accolades he has achieved and the stature of person he has been. Professor R. Krishnan is Director and Professor of Strategy at the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. He held the Jamuna Raghavan Chair in Entrepreneurship at IIM Bangalore from 2007 to 2010. He completed a 5-year term as Director of the Institute of Management, Indore, in December 2018. Professor Krishnan was educated at IIT Kanpur, Stanford University, and IIM Ahmedabad. His main areas of interest are strategy and innovation. He has been listed in the Thinker 50 India list of most influential management thinkers from India. Apart from publication in academic journals, case studies, and articles in the business press, Professor Krishnan has written 2 books, 8 Steps to Innovation, Going from Jugaad to Excellence, co-authored with Vinay Davolkar, which won the Best Book Award for 2013-14 from the Indian Society of Training and Development, and From Jugaad to Systematic Innovation, The Challenge for India. Professor Krishnan was the member of the expert committee set up by the Government of India in 2017-18 under the chairmanship of Justice B.N. Shri Krishna to propose a data protection framework for India. He is a member of the board of Higher Education Financing Agency and Wills India Limited and a trustee of the Foundation of Excellence India Trust. Professor Krishnan co-founded one of startups and was CEO of another. He has been on the jury of the Economic Times Startup Awards. He is currently on the advisory board of Your Nest Investment Advisors. And that is just a brief about whatever Professor Krishnan has achieved. Not taking much of our time, I would now request Professor Krishnan to present the keynote address. It's all yours.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me? Just make sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thanks a lot for inviting me to this event. And let me congratulate GS Lohia Girls College for taking this initiative. I'm also happy to see that you're collaborating with a lot of other institutions, including IIIT Allahabad and many other universities. So congratulations to you on that score as well. Incidentally, I visited Tinsukia in 2017, 3 years back, around the same time. In fact, around Diwali time, I was in Tinsukia. So unfortunately, I didn't know about your college at that time, or I would have paid you a visit. But anyway, hopefully on the next time I come to Tinsukia, whenever that is, hopefully we'll have a chance to meet at that time. So let me go into the theme of today's talk. As was nicely introduced both by the organizers and by the president of All India Manufacturers Organization, Atmanirbhar Bharat is an important program at this point of time. And what I would like to talk about today is what are some of the essential ingredients to make Atmanirbhar Bharat work successfully. What is really required to make Atmanirbhar Bharat work successfully, in my view, is that you need to focus both on innovation and on competitiveness. And that is going to be the main theme of my talk to you today. If you think about it, Atmanirbhar Bharat is much more than just making in India for India. In fact, as Prime Minister has clarified, it is make in India for the world. So if you want to be a player on the global stage on a continuing basis, you need to be continuously competitive. And what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about what does that mean in practice. So I'm going to do that by using a recent article that we wrote on the Indian motorcycle industry, because I think this industry demonstrates quite well what is required if you want to be competitive on a sustainable basis. If you recall, the Indian motorcycle industry was opened up for foreign participation in the early 1980s. This was part of the first phase of liberalization of the Indian economy. And at that time, three global giants in the motorcycle industry, Honda, Suzuki, and Kawasaki, had entered the Indian market in collaboration with three major Indian business houses, Hero, Bajaj, and TVS. And two of these were joint ventures, Hero, Honda, and TVS Suzuki. And one of them was a technical collaboration agreement between Kawasaki and Bajaj. What happened as a result of this entry of these multinational players? Within the next 20 years or so, there was a significant increase in the volume of motorcycles produced in India. In fact, the number went up from about 759,000 in 1983 to something like 4.1 million in 2001. And this was largely thanks to the very contemporary and sophisticated products which came in as a result of this new technology coming into the country. However, what is also interesting is that two of these collaborative agreements or two of these partnerships actually came apart one after the other. TVS and Suzuki split in 2001, and Hero and Honda decided to break their partnership in 2010-11. Now let us do a fast forward. Let us come to the current time. And I'm coming to the period just before the COVID pandemic started. So let us look at the year 2019-20. By this time, Indian motorcycle market has become the largest motorcycle market in the world. In fact, about 40% of the global volume of motorcycles is accounted for by India. And a lot of credit for making this happen goes to the three companies which have driven the growth of the Indian motorcycle industry. The more interesting fact is that Indian companies, Indian original equipment manufacturers, account for almost close to 80% of this market, 77% to be precise. Hero MotoCorp, which is the company which came apart, or the Hero part of the Hero Honda, today is the largest motorcycle manufacturer in the world. Hero Honda itself was the largest manufacturer before the split, but even after the split, Hero MotoCorp continues to have that prime position. And this is very important to note, because when the split happened, many people doubted whether Hero will be able to sustain this leadership. And instead, in the last 10 years, Hero MotoCorp has done quite well. And as I mentioned earlier, they have been able to sustain this leadership position. In contrast, Honda, which was the partner of Hero Honda, today only has 14% market share in the Indian motorcycle market. So the interesting question to ask is, how do we explain the creditable performance of the Indian motorcycle industry? And in my view, this can be attributed to multiple factors. This is, but mainly due to the internal capabilities that our Indian companies developed in manufacturing, product and technology development, and of course, a very deep understanding of the needs of Indian consumers. If we try to just go back again to the 80s and look at the period since then, you will see that these Indian companies went through some phases. The first thing they did was they learned how to manufacture motorcycles by working with foreign collaborators. But they did not stop at that point. They were able to absorb this know-how, build on the know-how, and to produce even more efficiently over time. They also at the same time sharpened their technical abilities. They learned how to both improve and design products. So one part of it is the improvement in manufacturing capabilities, continuous improvement in efficiency, new technology adoption, quality, etc. The other part is the ability to design motorcycles to meet the needs of the Indian customer. How do we know that the Indian companies are proficient in manufacturing and supply chain? There are many indicators. In fact, TVS Motor, as long back as 2002, won the Deming Prize for Quality, which is one of the most prestigious awards globally for quality and manufacturing practices. And just last year in 2019, the chairman of TVS Motor, Mr. Venu Srinivasan, became the first Indian industrialist to be awarded the Deming Prize, which is given to an individual who has made a significant global contribution to the development of the quality movement. Second important dimension of this improvement in manufacturing is the fact that all these companies have developed excellent vendor networks. In fact, this is one of the skills of Hero even earlier. In Ludhiana, they first developed this for the bicycle industry. Now they have developed this all over India for the motorcycle industry. What is the proof that they have developed a strong vendor network? Today, Hero MotoCorp imports just 5% of its sale value. So you can see that most of the components are available locally. Only 5% of their overall sales they are forced to import. And a lot of the credit goes to Hero MotoCorp and the other companies for developing a very strong supplier network. Another important dimension is the investment in product development, R&D, and engineering. In fact, when Hero Honda split happened, many people were worried that Hero may not have the capabilities to develop new bikes. Yes, initially Hero did struggle, but now they have set up their own center of innovation and technology, attracted the best of talent from all over the world. Today, the newly launched products of Hero are designed and developed indigenously, and Hero's royalty payments have come down significantly because they no longer have to pay royalties to their partners overseas. An even better example is Bajaj Auto. You might know that Bajaj has a very successful bike called Pulsar. This Pulsar was developed around an engine technology called DTSI, Digital Twin Spark Ignition Technology, which Bajaj developed in collaboration with a Japanese company, but then they have commercially exploited that very successfully in their entire range of motorcycles. Bajaj, in fact, has shown the ability to understand consumers. For example, when Pulsar was launched, they realized that customers are looking for more than fuel efficiency. They are looking for power and style, and that's what they brought into the Pulsar. They also realized that the rider, though he is interested in power and style, he also wants reasonable fuel efficiency. And normally, if you want to have both power and fuel efficiency in the same engine, it's quite difficult. That is where their unique innovation in terms of the DTSI engine enabled them to manage this trade-off. So their engine provides good fuel efficiency and a reasonable amount of power at the same time. Indian motorcycle companies have also collaborated extensively with academic institutions. One of the often quoted weaknesses of Indian companies is that they don't work extensively with academia. But that is not true in the motorcycle industry. For example, TVS has worked with academic institutions to implement a solution which tests the quality of single-cylinder engines in the assembly line using acoustic and vibration inputs, which is quite a sophisticated way of testing the engines. And this technique was developed as a result of the collaborative automotive research project, which was supported by Government of India, but was done by TVS in collaboration with academic institutions. Now, another factor one needs to look at when we are looking at the success of Atmanirbhar philosophy is, as I mentioned at the outset, how well are you doing in global markets? So remember, Indian motorcycle companies are dominating the Indian market. And because Indian market is one of the largest in the world, as a result, they are also some of the global leaders. But a second important indicator is how are you doing in global markets. Here the picture is a little mixed. If I look at some of the markets which are a little less sophisticated than India, for example, I look at Sri Lanka, I look at Bangladesh, I look at Nigeria. These countries, Indian motorcycle companies are doing quite well. In fact, Bajaj exports as much as 59%, it accounts for about 59% of the motorcycle exports from India. In fact, Indian OEMs exported 2.9 million two-wheelers in 2019, which was about 17.5% of the two-wheelers they sold. But if you go to slightly more sophisticated markets, suppose I go to Southeast Asia, where the engine capacity is quite comparable to India, but the sophistication of customers is little higher, there you find that Indian motorcycle companies are not doing so well. In fact, if you look at the Southeast Asian markets, here I'm talking about Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, etc., you will see that Honda is the leader by far. Honda is, of course, a highly versatile company. It is also a leader in developing engines. They develop their engines in Japan, but they set up local factories in all important markets to localize their product for the local needs. And they have used this business model very successfully to become the dominant player in many of the Southeast Asian countries. Not only that, Honda offers crossover models which are well suited to the local needs in these countries. And these kind of crossover models are not made by Indian OEMs. The Indian OEMs, in fact, account for just 3% of the market in Southeast Asia. They have presence. For example, both Bajaj and TVS have manufacturing facility in Indonesia, but their volumes are not very significant. They account for just 3% market share in the Southeast Asian countries. The challenge for Indian OEMs is that the Japanese are very well entrenched in Southeast Asia. They have an exalted status with the Southeast Asian customers. Their products are very well suited to the Southeast Asian market. As I mentioned earlier, the Southeast Asian customers are quite sophisticated in their taste, and Indian companies have struggled a little to meet their requirements. So if Indian companies want to have a significant presence in Southeast Asia, they will have to develop bikes specifically for that market. And at least initially that will be quite difficult because they will have relatively less volumes and it will take time to build up economies of scale in those markets. Another challenge for Indian motorcycle companies is going to be the changes in technology. As many of you know, globally, a lot of automobiles are moving to electric technologies as the way of propelling the vehicles. And even in India, the government has already come out a couple of times with new EV policies. And we expect in the years ahead, EV will become an important part of the automobile policy framework in India. But Indian two-wheeler companies have a somewhat modest presence in EVs. In fact, their spend on R&D is only about 1.5% of sales, which is low by global standards. They have taken some equity stakes in EV startups, and they also have some collaborations. But honestly speaking, Indian two-wheeler companies are today not well prepared for the transition to EV. So for example, if a transition to EV were to happen very quickly, they would lose market share quite rapidly, in my view. So this is the kind of challenge they face. Okay, I spent some 10-15 minutes telling you this story just to give you a kind of example of the challenges faced in being a competitive player in the global market. So you need to continuously improve your efficiency. You need to continuously adopt new technologies. You need to be able to build new products to meet customer needs. Customer requirement in different markets can be different. New technologies can come and disrupt and overtake the existing technologies. These are the kind of challenges which companies need to face. Of course, Indian motorcycle industry has been quite successful so far, but even that industry, which is relatively successful one, still has significant challenges in being a consistent and sustained global player. There are also very obvious challenges if you don't keep abreast of technology. Let's take a simple example. Let us look at mobile handset technology. Let us look at the Indian market 5 years back, not a long time back, just 5 years back in 2015. In 2015, Micromax, Lava, and Intex, three Indian brands, accounted for 30% of Indian smartphone market. Today, these brands have very low visibility. In fact, their combined market share is less than 10%. What happened to these companies? Why were they not able to sustain? Unfortunately, all these companies had very little investment in technology. They were not also present in different parts of the value chain. They were sourcing handsets from China without any control over the manufacturing or supply chain. So once Chinese companies came into the fray themselves, for example, brands like Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo, Realme, all these brands came in, powered by Chinese manufacturing company called BBK Electronics. Once that company decided to come into the market itself under different brands, Indian companies were no longer able to sustain their position. So you can see some of the dangers if you do not have control over technology, innovation, etc. Let me also give you some examples of other Indian companies which have been successful in driving innovation. One of my favorite examples is a company called Vigyan Labs. It was a startup. Now it's no longer a startup. It started in 2013. And it is a company which solves a very interesting problem. All of you know that a lot of computing is shifting to the cloud. And with the shift to the cloud, you have huge data centers which host the servers of Google, Facebook, and all the other companies which are using the cloud. But these data centers also consume huge amounts of power and are responsible for a lot of global warming. So what an entrepreneur in Mysore tried to do was he tried to come up with a solution to reduce the power consumption of these huge data centers. And that is what this company Vigyan Labs does. It has a patented solution for reducing the power consumption in data centers by up to 30%. And today he is one of the important players in this industry. Let me give you another example. Let us talk about healthcare. Dr. Devi Shetty started Narayana Hridayalaya or Narayana Healthcare as it is often known today, several years ago. And the aim of Narayana is to bring down the cost of cardiac surgery. Compared to a cost of something like $20,000 plus outside India, today Narayana is able to do cardiac surgery for about $1,500. And their goal is to bring the cost down even further to $800. And more importantly, all of this is without compromising on the quality or safety of the entire procedure. That is very important. Nobody is interested in surgery coming down in cost if you are going to be having a danger to your health. So the big achievement of a company like Narayana is to do high quality cardiac surgery at low cost. How do they do this? By a whole lot of innovation, starting from hospital design, operating theater design, using doctors and anesthetists efficiently, reducing staffing, manufacturing drapes for surgery through an associated company, tracking every rupee or dollar which is spent in the organization. And I encourage all of you to go and look at some of the videos available online which show how companies like Narayana make themselves globally competitive. Let us take another industry altogether. Let us look at financial services. One of the most successful companies in financial services in India is Bajaj Finserv. Bajaj Finserv is a leader in making personal loans. Yet it makes lots of personal loans but has a low delinquency rate. How do they do this? They use data very intelligently. They have issued credit cards and EMI cards to lots of people, and they are able to study the spending and credit behavior of these customers. At the same time, they also buy data from third-party data agencies like Equifax, and they integrate that data with the data which they have themselves generated from their customers. As a result, they are able to make a loan approval of up to 3 lakh rupees in less than 30 seconds, just based on your PAN and Aadhaar, because they have good data on your prior spending and your repayment behavior. Today, this has enabled Bajaj Finserv to be one of the fast growing companies in personal finance business, at the same time having relatively low NPAs compared to the rest of the industry. Let us take another example of a company which has done very well in driving on innovation. Let us look at Biocon, a biotech-based company started by Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, which is here in Bangalore itself. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw's company initially made enzymes for the food industry based on very good understanding of the fermentation process. But they realized that this is a commodity business. They'll not be able to make significant returns over time, but they understood fermentation very well. So they decided to use their expertise in fermentation to design drugs for the pharmaceutical industry. Today, Biocon is India's leading bio-based pharmaceutical company. They produce statins and immunosuppressants. They are the leaders in biosimilars, which is like generic drugs based on biotechnology. They have tried to develop novel cancer treatments in collaboration with a Cuban research institute. And they have also been working on bringing out a new generation oral insulin. And all of this has been possible because they have continuously innovated based on the foundation of fermentation technology, which was originally built through their enzyme business. So I have given you all these examples just to underline the importance of continuous innovation in order to drive competitiveness if you want to be a player both competitive in India and globally on a continuing and sustainable basis. How do companies develop those capabilities? That's the last thing I want to share with you. It is possible for companies to build what we call a systematic innovation capability. Systematic innovation capability is the ability to innovate on a continuing basis, not by chance, not by accident, not happening by some fluke now and then. And companies which develop a systematic innovation capability, they do a few things. They try to build a robust idea pipeline. So they encourage people to come up with a lot of new ideas, and they take out the barriers from these ideas being used. They find a way to progress the ideas within the company. They remove barriers to further development of the idea, for example, by making more resources available for experimentation and testing. And finally, they also look at how can they convert the ideas which have promise into significant products and solutions. So they use techniques like open innovation, like platforms to essentially drive the innovation process and get more returns from the innovation investments that they make. Okay, so let me just try to sum up what I was telling you. What I was trying to tell you was that if you want to be genuinely Atmanirbhar, it's not enough to just set up a factory. It's not enough to just manufacture. It's not enough to just get a technology from somebody. You have to continuously improve your efficiency, continuously come out with new products, keep understanding the change in consumer needs, keep abreast of all the technological changes that are happening. And all of this is required not one time, but on a continuing basis, so that you can be competitive not only in the Indian market, but also for the world. So this is what is involved if we want to build a strong ecosystem of companies that can make India genuinely self-reliant. So let me once again thank the organizers for inviting me. My compliments to GS Lohia Girls College, my best wishes to all the faculty, students, governing board members, etc. And thank you once again for inviting me. I don't know whether there is any provision for any questions, but in case there is, I'm happy to answer. But if there is not, then thank you in any case, and I'll hand you back to the organizers now.
Thank you, sir. And now I understand why there was so much anticipation about your keynote address. The way you spoke was not just, we say, informative, but inspirational as well. The innovations you spoke about are really something we must be proud of, something which gives us a different enlightenment, and something which makes us to believe in ourselves, and thus, yes, we as a country can achieve something substantial. I would like to mention here that Professor Krishnan's main area of interest are strategy and innovation, and he rightly lives up to it. Sir, you are an inspiration, not just because you have achieved so many things in your life, but because even after achieving so many things, you are still very grounded and very humble. It was very, I think so, tough for us to think about a person of your stature coming up to our international webinar and giving a keynote address. But when we contacted your office, it was just a simple mail who did it for us. And we could hardly imagine that this is a reality and you were speaking just right in front of us in the virtual media. And that's really special and overwhelming for us, sir. And you mentioned in your keynote address that you had been to Tinsukia. So next time, sir, please accept our virtual invitation and please do visit our college. We would like to hear from you in person. And we are looking forward to whenever that particular time comes. And I think so the mood is set completely right in the right direction by whatever you spoke. And that's what exactly we have organized this seminar for, or the webinar for. That's for rejuvenating the ideas, for basically motivating human minds in such a manner that we could make a difference. We could be the change and we could make an impact. Now, I think so, sir, at the end of his keynote address, sir asked that whether there is any question and answer possibility. So, I think so, sir, your remark itself was so complete that hardly it gives any room for any such query or questions. And that's why we will move on quickly to our next agenda. That's one of our prominent organizing partners, that is the Eastern India Regional Council, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Kolkata. And when we talk about business, when we talk about economy, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is the prime voice of the Indian economic market or the Indian financial system. And that's what even the government considers while drafting various policies. And what can be the most opportune time than to hear it from CA Nitish Moore, who is the chairman of EIRC ICAI. So now I request CA Nitish Moore to kindly give a...
Good morning. Yeah, good morning to one and all. Friends, Institute of Chartered Accountant of India has been established under an Act of Parliament on 1st of July 1949. And we are today the second largest accounting body all over the world. Friends, whenever we think about this COVID-19, a negative vibration comes to our mind. But today, I will make you sure that whenever you think of the COVID-19, a positive vibration should come to your mind. Friends, what we see that this COVID-19, probably the vaccine will come on December or January, and by June 2021, probably we all will get the vaccine, and probably this pandemic will disappear by June 2021. This is what we estimate. My personal estimate is, friends, what the world will get after this pandemic, due to this pandemic, what world will get after this pandemic, that are the, I will highlight those four things. The positive outcome of the pandemic, which will stay and this world will enjoy in long run. The first one is this virtual meeting. Friends, somebody is today at Washington, somebody is in Paschim Bengal, somebody is in Assam, Tinsukia, somebody is there, everybody is meeting virtually. Now, this pandemic taught us this virtual meetings, and this learning will stay. We all have learned, and now we will enjoy the enduring benefit after this pandemic also. So this is the first benefit, and due to this only this seminar could have been organized. The second benefit is probably the work from home culture. Now the business has learned that to reduce, we should promote the employees, and the business all have learned that we can promote the work from home culture, so as not only to reduce the employees cost, but also the establishment cost of the business. So on the one hand, the employee cost will reduce because a person sitting in his village, in his home, can serve to a company in USA at a lesser cost to the company, and he will enjoy doing this from enjoying the home environment. And these things many of the companies has learned, multinational has learned, and they are hiring even on taking the interview by this virtual meetings also, and they are hiring, and this has now reality. Many of the companies have already adapted, and soon the other companies will adapt. So this way the establishment cost and total cost of the company will reduce, and this will stay. This is the second point I would like to highlight. Then friends, we have, in this pandemic, we have learned new ways to doing the things. Even we are the auditors, we are the consultants, we have done, everybody in this world has tried to learn, try to invent something, and they have learned how to finish his work even during his pandemic. So we have learned the new ways of doing the things, many things. Even the auditor, we now don't have to visit to the company. We, while staying in this office, while staying in the home, we can audit. So we have invented a new ways of doing the things. Everybody have invented a new ways of doing things. This learning will stay. And the third thing is the government policy. Friends, before this pandemic, we have learned that Prime Minister was saying $5 trillion economy. Now, during this pandemic, the shift has changed, and they are now saying Atmanirbhar Bharat. So, each of the departments. So, what was the thinking before? The thinking of the government before was that we have to grow the economy, and the country in which we are specialized, where our cost is less, let us concentrate on those areas. That was the policy of the government. That was the thinking of the government of all over the world before this pandemic. But now, after this pandemic, we all know how the Chinese is, and all the country of the world is now dependent on China. So everybody, the shift has changed. Shift has changed to Atmanirbhar Bharat. So this, and to achieve this, all the ministry is working. All ministry is working to achieve this, and the shift has been changed, and the output we will see in the nearer future. So this is the fourth thing, friends, and I am sure that everybody will work together, will achieve this dream. Since I have the 5 minutes time, I think I have crossed my time. With this, thank you everyone for this. We are very, I am very sure that this webinar will, some fruitful thinkings will come, and we can add more value addition to the world and to the country as a whole. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, C. Nitesh. And I would say that when it's about economy, finance, and business, then it could be none better than a chartered accountant speaking, and with such motivated and enthusiastic voice. It was great to hear from you, sir, and look forward to many more such interactions in the future. Now, in the next anticipated event, we have got amongst us Professor P. Nagabhushan sir, right from Allahabad, Pragyaj Raj. And he will be delivering a keynote address in today's inaugural session. And before moving on to his keynote address, we would like to speak a few of the achievements which Sir have made. And speaking of the kind of work he has done in this field, the work has been done enormous, and the work is not what the papers speak for or what the letters speak for. The work is the groundwork which he has done connected with the people. He is presently, we say, the director of Institute of Information Technology, Allahabad, since May 2017. He is a professor in computer science and engineering since 1994 at SJC Mysore and since 1996 at University of Mysore. University, we say, he was the chairman of Academic Reformative Committee, University of Mysore, and mentor specialized program in design, creative arts, Tibetan studies conducted at specified centers of University of Mysore. Formerly, Sir was also the mentor director of IIIT Lucknow from May 2017 to July 2019. Chief Nodal Officer for Choice-Based Credit Pattern Continuous Assessment Education System, University of Mysore. Director, Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation Board, Dean, Faculty of Science and Technology, Director, Center for Information, Science and Technology, University of Mysore. He was also formerly Distinguished Professor and Chairman, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapitham, Amrita University, Coimbatore. He was also the Director, BESTAR, Bangalore Education Society for Technology Advancement and Research, and Principal BTI, Bangalore Technological Institute, and also presently serving, as we say, a very dignified and renowned educationist in various platforms, and have many research papers and other work to his credit. And we look forward, sir, to your keynote address, and we hope that as your name speaks for yourself, this particular keynote address will be really inspiring for us. It's over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll be sharing the screen. Is that visible?
Yes, sir.
So good morning to all of you. Honorable Principal of the institution, keynote speaker Professor Krishnan, Director of IIM Bangalore, Shri MP Agarwal, Shri Nitish More, Dr. Sukomal Agarwal, Honorable faculty and staff of the college, my colleague Dr. Ranjit, and the learned audience. Good morning to all of you. After very, very powerful presentations by Agarwal, Nitish More, and also after a very, very vibrant keynote address by Professor Krishnan, it is really difficult to deliver another keynote address. And that too, the giants from business, the giants from management, and the giants from economy of India have spoken so very well about Atmanirbharata of India and the expected outcome of the Atmanirbharata, the self-reliant model which India is proposing. It is really very difficult for an information technocrat like me to build up on that. Nevertheless, I shall try my level best to present about Atmanirbhar, the self-reliant, the concepts on it by itself. Okay, I shall go through some of the slides and you can stop me at any point of time once the time is over. All right, you can feel free to stop me. So Atmanirbhar surely tells about self-reliancy, self-reliant. If one has got to become self-reliant, one has got to be self-efficient. You have heard from Dr. Krishna, and this is what he was trying to mention, whether it was Devi Narayan's experiment or whether it was motorbike's experiment or whatever it is. He was mentioning that the system should become self-efficient. So the self-reliant requires the system to be self-efficient. Self-efficient also implies that the system should become self-sufficient. So for self-efficiency, there must be self-sufficiency, self-sufficient. And self-sufficiency leads to one becoming self-dependent. One has got to become self-dependent. So these are all cyclic causes for the system to become self-reliant. So quickly going through that, self-reliant requires the system to be self-efficient. Self-efficiency requires self-sufficiency, and self-sufficiency warrants that one has got to be self-dependent. What do I mean by being self-dependent? Self-dependent definitely means that you should have a strong belief in the self, that is self-belief. You should have the strong belief. You should have strong trust in your own self. So self-belief, and then confidence, self-confidence. One should have confidence in the self. Belief and confidence will make you self-dependent. So this is what is the basic component, basic definition of Atmanirbhar. So let's continue. Such a self-confidence is surely possible if and only if the self is in the present state of mind. The self has got to be in the present state of mind. One has got to be in the present state of mind. That is more important. Okay. So what is present state of mind? A mind which is highly composed, a composed mind, a quiet mind, a balanced mind. So that mind which is which incorporates composed mind, quiet mind, and balanced mind will be in the present state of mind. Why? Because if one is depressed, the self is living in yesterday. If one is depressed, the self is living in yesterday. If one is anxious, the self is living in tomorrow. If one is anxious, he is living in tomorrow. But if one is calm, self is living today. So what we want for Atmanirbharata, the self-confidence is the calmness, and we should practice living only today. All right, only today, to hopefully create a very wonderful tomorrow. But one should not live in the live in the state of anxiousness of tomorrow. Neither one should live in the state of depression of yesterday. So the Atmanirbharata, the self-confidence demands that one has got to be calm, and in order to be calm, one has got to have the present state of mind. So importance of now. The one who lives calm, who lives in today, can understand that now is infinite. The present time is infinite. Now is infinite. I have on my hand the now. That is more important. Make what is available on your hand to have to exist for the infinity. So now is infinite. I have on my hand the now. So I have to plan as though the now is forever. I have to plan as though the now is forever, and I have to work as though the now cannot be back again. I have to work in such a way that now cannot come back again. This is the foundation of realizing Atmanirbhar, self-reliance. Okay, so concept of recursion. Let us recall, to become self-reliant, I mentioned just in the earlier slide that one has got to be self-dependent. Awakening of the self. Self-dependent is awakening of the self. So Atmanirbharata, self-reliance, requires self-awakening. Self-awakening. This is the concept of mathematically, or in computer science, or in information technology, we call it as recursion, the concept of recursion. What is recursion? Problem is solved by the one who poses and states the problem. We are all experts in stating the problem, but we do not come out with the solution. We do not come out with the suggestion. But recursion, or self-awakening, expects that problem shall be solved by the one who poses and states the problem. All right. Do not tell me the problem. Come with a suggestion. Be with a solving mind. This is what Pai of Manipal. Manipal is the great banking technology, whole banking industry started from Manipal. You are aware of that. And very big institutions, particularly educational institutions, are also from Manipal. And the first Pai of Manipal mentioned that when some people went to his office, he rose his hand, he said, I'm aware of the problem. If you are here to discuss about the problem and state some solving method, then you are most welcome. If you are here only to state the problem again to me, then you need not come. I know that. So do not tell me the problem. Come with a suggestion. Be with a solving mind. Then that is what is self-reliance. That is what enriches Atmanirbharata. So I'll just tell you one interesting story of the origin of a supercomputer in India. Like Professor Krishnan mentioned about the business of motorbikes in India, and also he later mentioned about Devi Narayan's experiment. So here is another Atmanirbharata displayed by India, the origin of supercomputer in India. The birth of CDAC. CDAC is Center for Development of Advanced Computing, way back in 1987, was the cause for the origin of supercomputer. But then this cause did not happen accidentally, or did not happen in a planned way, but it happened because of some reason. Well, let us see what is that reason. India wanted to purchase a supercomputer. So in 1986-87, India was planning. So Cray supercomputer was very powerful, was very well known in the market, and obviously it was from USA. So India decided to procure it from USA. Then unfortunately, USA denied. USA gave a sanction that USA will not supply Cray to India. It was because USA was afraid that India would use this supercomputer for military use and will become a superpower. That was the concern by USA. Therefore, USA denied supplying the Cray supercomputer to India. At that time, India decided that I shall build one on my own strength. India decided to be Atmanirbhar. That is the point. In 1987, when you were challenged, when India was challenged that Cray supercomputer will not be supplied by USA, then India did not lose. India decided to build one on its own strength. That's what is the story of Atmanirbharata, and that is how India's CDAC was born in 1987. And India's first indigenous supercomputer was designed by CDAC in the same duration and in the same money which was supposed to have been invested in bringing a Cray computer from USA. Even if you had indented the Cray computer from USA, it would have taken some time for the Cray computer to be delivered, and within the same time, same duration, making use of the same duration, India built a supercomputer. And in fact, almost for the same money, or even in fact the less money, which was just rupees 30 crores. Okay, and the prototype which India built had received the second most powerful computer award in 1990s Zurich Computing Show. That is the most important. So India not only made it, India emerged to the top in the world. That's what it happened. So the hunger, the anger, the challenge. See, India had the hunger. India became angry, and the challenge. USA had challenged India. The hunger, anger, challenge gave rise to the zeal, gave rise to motivation, resulted in the commitment, and USA newspapers wrote, "Angry India made it." So the supercomputer not only made it, it also revolutionized information technology, made it. So that is what the USA's editorial columns of newspapers wrote. Because of that, that angry India has made it. Okay, that's what is wonderful self-reliance. Self-reliance means cooperation, cooperative strategy. So self-reliant, reliant on one's own powers and resources naturally, rather than being dependent on others. This is what is the general definition of self-reliant. Then power or resources, whatever I have mentioned here, the power and resources are not necessarily only money. It is because of intelligence, capacity, capability. So intelligence, capacity, and capability will realize everything. So self-reliant makes you to become self-sufficient, as I mentioned. That I also mentioned, it must be self-supporting, and then self-sustaining, self-standing, and self-contained. What does it mean? Self does not mean one. You should not understand only one. Self does not mean one. Self indicates a collective oneness, together, a collective oneness. And this collective oneness is the cooperative society movement. So the cooperative society movement realizes the self-sufficiency and realizes the self-reliancy. So cooperative society is a society with the self-help model, a collective oneness of like-minded people. That's what is the cooperative movement, or the self-reliant model. So now I give you one another example which has happened in India starting in the year 1946, and the story goes to that of Dr. Kurian's innovative contribution. Dr. Cherian Kurian was, although from Kerala, he was responsible in establishing a very big cooperative union in Kairala in Gujarat, and that was supported by Tribhuvan Das and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel then. A self-help cooperative model of Amul. Today we call it as Amul. Amul is Anand Milk Union Limited of Kairala. That was Dr. Kurian's very, very innovative contribution in that day. It has got many interwoven contributions. Look, it started only for milk supply to Bombay. The story started from supplying milk to Bombay, ended up in milk production. Today, in the whole world, we are at the top in the milk production. Okay, and now that resulted in self-sufficient cattle feed. That resulted in also to be self-efficient on cattle reproduction, cattle health, veterinary. That also started off becoming very reliant on producing the milk powder. In fact, when you go through the story of Dr. Kurian, go through the story of Amul, you know that how difficult it was to convince India that milk powder could be, developed, could be brought out, could be manufactured in India. So, so many foreign agencies and foreign international agencies were against to that idea because they would lose a very, very powerful market in India. So, milk, cream, butter. So, these are all the interwoven contributions because of this cooperative model. See, I continue. Spin-off contribution. There were plenty of spin-off contributions. The milk packaging. Now, in those days when it started with the milk packaging through a bottle, today you see what type of packaging it has been. So milk packaging, it resulted in local research for the local requirements. Milk storage, that also was a research. Milk transportation, that itself was a very big research. Okay, it's all interdisciplinary research. It involved management, it involved technology, it involved science. So these were all interdisciplinary research arising out of such strong local requirements. And then banking sector itself, the cooperative societies of cooperative society model perhaps came because of this cooperative society, a model of milk model at Amul. And then the other most important spin-off benefit is that the children education. According to the survey, the Amul area has got the best children education in those days. Okay, so a real sense secular India was built. In fact, I need a lot more time to explain how secular India was built because of white revolution, but a real sense secular India was built. But all that I would like to talk in a very philosophical terminology, the milk indicated, the huge amount of milk production indicated a big white revolution. White revolution in philosophical sense has been very meaningful because white absorbed all colors, creed, caste, religion, poor, rich, all colors were absorbed. In fact, that's a very, very wonderful reliant model, like-minded with diverse principles. In fact, I have got to tell here, when one very great politician went to that area and started asking the people, to which party do you belong? Somebody said, I belong to this party. Somebody else said, I belong to this party. I belong to this party. But all of them belong to the cooperative movement of milk. All of them. So they had all diverse ideas about their political background, about their political willingness. But then they all worked together for one cooperative movement, which was the collective oneness. The collective oneness was demonstrated by white revolution, and that could happen because of Korean. That's the excellent model of collective oneness, resulting in a collective self-reliant model, collective Atmanirbharata. All right. Okay, a self-reliant man does not overly rely on others to validate his decision. This is most important. Does not overly rely on others to validate his decision. Okay, he is autonomous, he is independent, he is self-convinced. But that does not mean he is autocratic. He is not autocratic. He is perhaps more democratic, but he will not overly rely on many people to arrive at a decision. Okay, I have got to share one story of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel here in this connection. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was a very strong, self-reliant man. That is why he is called Iron Man of India. And he used to take the decision, and he never used to rely upon others to validate his decision. It has happened in his own life. He had a son, and his son, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel had two children, one daughter and one son. And daughter was till the end of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel with him only. She was the caretaker of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. This son one day came to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel immediately after independence, and he said that many people in Gujarat have come forward to be the venture capitalists or contributors to his plan of newspaper. He wanted to bring out a newspaper. So many venture capitalists have come voluntarily to contribute to his newspaper, and that his father Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel should accept this proposal. Then immediately Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel said that venture capitalists have not come to promote the idea of your newspaper. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel have come to tame, these people have come to tame Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel because you happen to be Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's son. Therefore, I shall not accept this. Naturally, son was not very happy, and the altercations took place, and then Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel had to invariably ask him to leave the house. So he took the decision. Okay, that was one part which generally happens. But the worst part in the story comes now. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was on deathbed, and learning that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was on the deathbed, this son comes back and requests his sister, that is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's daughter, to let him in the house to see Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Then the daughter, that is the daughter of Vallabhbhai Patel, that is the sister of the brother, goes to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel on the deathbed and conveys the information that the brother has come. Then she pleads that let the brother be let in to see Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Then do you know what Sardar Vallabhbhai said? A self-reliant, a very strong man, a person who does not take any time to take the decision, a person who is not autocratic, but a person who is self-convinced. He said, no, don't allow your brother to come in because I want to die in peace. I want to die in peace. Don't let your brother come and disturb me while I am dying now. So I want to die in peace. That is what is the strength of a self-reliant man. That is what makes somebody very, very strong. You should be convinced, and you should not be disturbed by the pullings of leg. Your legs would be pulled by many. The diversities are plenty, and in spite of it, you should not get detracted. That is what. But still, you have got to remain democratic. These are all very interesting, non-linear optimization problem. Nevertheless, that has got to happen, as I have illustrated that it has happened in the life of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So self-reliance leads to emotional stability. That is most important. You should be emotionally very stable. Stability does not mean emotional insensitivity. It doesn't mean that you are insensitive. As there is no room for emotional dishonesty in self-reliance, and the person should know how to fix his own problems. That is more important. He should not feel that it has been responsible because of others. He should be able to fix his own problems, take his own responsibility, and we should own it. Again, there is one more story of associated with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's life. This is a very small story. I shall tell it in 1 minute. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was arguing in the court, and he was cross-examining a witness. At that time, a telegram would be delivered to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. In those days, those who lived in that past will understand what was the bad meaning of telegram when it was handed over to your house. So the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel just opened the telegram, read the content, and coolly kept it in the pocket and continued the continuing the cross-examining the witness. Towards the end, the judge himself could not, was so much disturbed, and he asked Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, "May I know what the telegram, if it is not very, very personal, can you share the content of the telegram? I am very worried about that telegram." The judge himself said that. Then Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel coolly said that my wife has been hospitalized. She is very, very serious. I have to go immediately to that. But the point now here is he knew how to fix his own problems. He was responsible for his own problems, but he was still emotionally stable. That is what made him a self-reliant person. But he was not emotionally insensitive. You should not conclude that he did not love his wife. You should go through the bio story of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. How deeply he was loving his wife would be understood. It did not mean emotional dishonesty, but he was emotionally stable. That would make anybody a self-reliant. So that is what is required for Atmanirbharata. Chanchalata is not what is expected. Okay. In fact, just yesterday we have celebrated Mahatma Gandhi's birthday. Your computer, your colleague was also mentioning about that, and Mahatma Gandhi's birthday. We have recollected that how he built up a new model to win the independence for India, the Ahimsa, a non-violence model. That was the greatest self-reliant model, Atmanirbhar model, and that model has helped us to enhance the image value of India. Had we got independence for India through normal violent mode or war or strife, then I do not think we would have got such a great image for India. So the enhanced image value of India has been because of this new self-reliant model brought out by Mahatma Gandhi. British did not end up becoming enemies. UK has even today remained a friend for India. So Swaraj, self-rule, is an Atmanirbhar model. Atmanirbhar foundation was laid down by Mahatma Gandhi. In fact, he imagined very well and he brought it down. He brought it for the welfare of India, and that has given a great image value to India. So Bharat, many people have inclined to be so much influenced with Mysore. So now even Dr. Krishnan mentioned about an example of power saving in cloud computing. which was also responsible from Mysore. This is also the story of Mysore, but it is a little way back. It is because of Bharata Ratna Mokshagundam Vishveshwaraya, who was a statesman and chief engineer with the king of Mysore, Krishnaraja Vadayar IV. He was these two together were the fathers of Krishnaraja Sagar Dam. You know, most of you know that once you tell that Mysore, people immediately remember Krishnaraj Sagar Bundavan Gardens and Krishnaraj Sagar Dam, KRS Dam, the fathers of Krishnaraj Sagar Dam. So that was built using homemade Surki mortar. You will be wondering that it was built using homemade Surki mortar. So the local solution for a global crown. The Krishnaraj Sagar model is a global example even today, but it contained only a local solution for the global crown, because cement was not available, was not made in India, and it was not easily available in India, and it was not definitely available for princely state like Mysore. So it was very difficult. Importing cement would have meant a lot of money, and Mokshagundam Vishveshwaraya decided that he shall depend upon the homemade Surki mortar to build the entire Krishnaraj Sagar Dam. All right. So to build the KRS, the king mortgaged his family jewels, necklaces, ornaments with the king of Varanasi, with the king of Kashi. This is what is self-rising. He realized the funds also by self-involvement. That is most important. He was about to mortgage the palace also. Towards the end, the money was running short and he was about to mortgage the palace. Then came collective oneness. People formed a cooperative group, all people. That was also because of Mokshagundam Vishveshwaraya. He said, we will go to people. Both Vishveshwaraya and king went to people. When people saw the king near their house, near their huts, people decided to make a very big formative group, formed a cooperative group. They poured in collectively. A collective oneness was demonstrated. That built a way, that was the origin of self-reliant model. Okay, so Atmanirbhar can also be connected to Ford's life. Ford, Dr. Krishnan was mentioning about motorbike, and Ford, that he was associated with automobile. Now, with the example just I have given you, Mokshagundam Vishveshwaraya as example, and Ford's life, I wanted to present the following lines from Ford's life. One has to see where one's spontaneous inclination lies, and then have the courage and conviction to back it up. That is the requirement to build up a self-reliant model. So one has to see where one's spontaneous inclination lies, and then have the courage and conviction to back it up. See, they wanted water. In fact, today's Mandya, which is very close by to Mysore, was almost a desert. It was not having water at all. Then they should have a spontaneous inclination, and then have the courage and conviction to back it up. See, conviction, like mortgaging your own necklaces, mortgaging your own ornaments, that too with the king of Banaras. That conviction has got to be there, and we have got to be courageous. That's what Ford also has mentioned. Even the geniuses complement their weaknesses, their own strengths, and complement their weaknesses. Atmanirbhar, self-reliance, there is no room to accuse others or self. That is emotional stability. That is where the value of education plays the role. So to accuse for one's own misfortunes is a sign of want of education. So in self-reliant model, we should not accuse others. To accuse others for my own misfortunes is the sign of want of education. So now, to accuse oneself, if I accuse myself, that shows education has just begun. Education has just begun. And to accuse neither oneself nor others shows that one's education is complete. This is from the sacred space of Times of India. I know that I am about to spill over when he was a schoolboy, he was asked to write an essay on my favorite bird. Even today, you know that the 10th standard boys and the 12th standard boys, everybody will go preparing for even writing an essay. And all these essays are either dictated by the teacher or are obtained by some ready-made digest. So everybody used to write the essay on the same favorite bird. Every candidate writes the same essay. That is the unfortunate part of our education. And then Aditya Iyer wanted to write a story, essay on crow. He made the bird crow as his favorite. Unfortunately, everyone laughed at him. His friends, his parents, and his teachers ridiculed him. People thought that he was stupid, but that is the sorry state of affair of education. Now, national education policy has been announced. India has realized this drawback. At least now, after 72 years, India has decided to be Atmanirbhar educationally, and Atmanirbhar new education policy, the national education policy 2020 has come out. I'm very, very happy all through the new national education policy. There are very, very interesting components, including the technology blend. But more important, what I liked in the national education policy, which has been often repeated, starting from school education up to PhD education, is that the education has got to be a process of continuous learning, and therefore assessment should also be continuous, not examination oriented learning. It should not be examination oriented assessment. It has got to be a continuous assessment, and then it has stressed that it has got to be a formative assessment. So the continuous assessment has got to be formative assessment. So formative assessment naturally tells how self-reliancy is getting formulated within you. It assesses you how self-reliance, the Atmanirbharata, is getting set in within you. It is not the one-time examination which will be able to do that. Okay, but then I do not have time. Maybe sometime later, if I get some opportunity, I shall speak about Atmanirbharata and national education policy. All right. I have got to tell this simple story, which Ramnath Kovind, our Honorable President, shared with us during our recent visitors conference. He mentioned the story of 26/11, the Hotel Taj, the militancy attack in Mumbai. Then he mentioned hotel employees did not escape. The hotel employees could have escaped. The hotel employees knew all the escape doors. They knew all the safe escape doors, but still they did not escape. They coolly focused on the welfare of the guests. That is the outcome of Atmanirbharata. That is the outcome of Atmanirbhar education. That is what is going to happen. That is what is self-reliancy. So Atmanirbhar mind is a balanced mind. Balanced mind. So when the mind is calm and balanced, whatever decision you make will be a good one. So Atmanirbhara mind makes always a good decision, because when the mind is calm and balanced, whatever decision you make will be a good one. When the mind is unbalanced, any decision you make will be a reaction. Any decision that you make will be a reaction. You must learn to change the pattern of life from negative reaction to positive action. That is all Atmanirbharata tells, that let us not be negatively inclined. Let us not react negatively. We shall map ourselves into positive response and positive action. This is from the sacred space of Times of India on recently 24/9/2020, when I was preparing I was thinking what I should speak on Atmanirbharata. Atmanirbhar mind is a balanced mind. That is what it is. Okay. So therefore, a self-reliant Atmanirbhar person perseveres, performs, preserves, and progresses. So Atmanirbhar implies persevering, performing, preserving, and progressing. Thank you very, very much for such a patient listening. I'm just on time. Thank you very much for such a patient listening. Thank all the organizers for having given me the opportunity to deliver this keynote address. Thank you very much.
Sir, thanks would be an understatement for such a motivating keynote address. It shows the intent with which you are into anything which you do. And Prayagraj or Allahabad being, we say, of a land or holy land, your kind of complete structure which you made for this keynote address depicted that traditional touch, the touch of beautiful stories, and it was a complete, we say, different outlook, but the main foundation on which the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme rests. And you were rightly, sir, in pointing out that we are 72 hours late in doing or thinking so, but better than never. And we take that word forward. And what a beautiful beginning we had to this inauguration ceremony. And we hope that the energy which all of you have put in this inauguration session will carry forward with us in the time to come. And now I would request our very own, though it's generally a tradition that vote of thanks is being delivered by the organizing committee. So it's someone who has been very much a part of the organizing team. It's our own elder brother from Tinsukia, Professor Ranjit Bhaiya, I will call him, Dr. Ranjit Singh, who is now working in IIIT Allahabad in, we say, the management wing. And he has been associated with us, he has guided us, he has motivated us and said that I am there to handle everything, don't worry. And that's what made us pull through this international webinar. So we request that vote of thanks as a part of organizing team member. We request Ranjit Bhaiya to kindly deliver vote of thanks. It's all yours.
Thank you, Amit. Respected Principal, GS Lohia Girls College, Mr. Mridul Todi ji, our two eminent keynote speakers, Professor P. Nagabhushan sir, Hrishikesh Krishnan sir, Sukumal Agarwal. I've seen Sriram Agarwal also, an eminent chartered accountant from Tinsukia, Nitish Moore from Eastern India Regional Council of ICAI, Mahavir Prasad ji, Ajanta ma'am is also here, I'm seeing her, students and teachers of GS Lohia Girls College and other paper presenters and the participants in this international webinar. Getting an opportunity to deliver a vote of thanks when everything is handled so nicely and done so perfectly is really a difficult task. But however, as a custom, I am delivering the vote of thanks. So first of all, I would like to thank our keynote speakers, Professor Hrishikesh Krishnan sir. He has just on a single mail we have dropped and he has accepted our invitation. Sir, I am listening to you for the second time. You may not be remembering, I attended one of your class in Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow, in Strategic Management Forum of India's platform. So there you have taken one of our class on strategic management. So this is the second time I'm listening to you, and as expected, it is overwhelming. And thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be a keynote speaker and adding value to our international webinar. Our very own, my very own personally, like a fatherly figure for me, Professor P. Nagabhushan, that simply an informal, on the basis of an informal talk, I requested him, sir, to be a keynote speaker, and he has so gracefully has accepted our invitation. So thanks, sir, for, and this shows that जिस पेड़ में ज्यादा फल होता है हमेशा झुका रहता है. So thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and delivering a keynote speaker and adding glory to our international webinar. from Eastern India Regional Council of Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, Mr. Nitish Moore. Thanks for associating with us and associating Eastern India Regional Council and giving all the expertise, all the accounting and management related and business related expertise for conducting this international webinar. Thank you very much. All India Manufacturers Association and on behalf of All India Manufacturers Association, I thank Mr. Mahavir Prasad Agarwal to be here, a part of our inaugural session, and extending your collaboration and cooperation to be a part of our international webinar. So we express our gratitude to you. Thanks to Mridul Todi sir, the entire management of GS Lohia Girls College for giving us this platform to conduct this international webinar on Atmanirbhar Bharat 2020, build local to go global. I thank my own honorable respected madam, Ajanta madam. She taught me, ma'am, are you listening? So because ma'am is since beginning, ma'am is continuously listening to all the speeches, and I'm proud to say that she has taught me. I'm her student. So ma'am, thank you very much for making me whatever I am today. It's because of you only, ma'am. So thank you, ma'am, for a part of this international webinar.
God bless you.
Thank you, ma'am. Then one person, Sukomal Agarwal, she is my classmate, but we are on a different platform. So we can say that like this is a tagline of Kingfisher Airlines, separated by boundaries and united by Kingfisher. So we are from the Tinsukia, so separated by institutions but united by this international webinar on Google Meet. So Sukomal, she is tirelessly and continuously working hard for this international webinar, and since the day one she has been continuously talking. She's been negotiating and contacting people. So thank you, Sukomal, for handling this entire webinar so beautifully and melodiously. Thank you. The students continuously, they have been working hard. It will be difficult to remember all the students because I have been receiving phone calls from many students for several other things and guidance and some supports, and they are calling with some queries. So thank you all the students for making it happen. The teachers of GS Lohia Girls College, I could see Pawan Sharma is there, Rakesh Agarwal is there, and if I miss anyone, all the teachers of GS Lohia Girls College who made it so beautifully, presented this international seminar to the world, all the paper presenters, all the keynote resource persons who will be the resource person in the other technical sessions. Thank you for accepting our invitation and making this international webinar so successful. Thank you very much.
So, vote of thanks is generally the last agenda of any function, or we say any program. And similarly, we have come to an end of this program. But before we say move on to the national anthem, I would like to say once again, thank you, Dr. Ranjit Singh, for giving your personal touch in this vote of thanks. And we really appreciate and look forward to such interactions with you in the future as well. And now I would request everyone to kindly stand up at their respective places, because we will be virtually having the national anthem played now.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे, भारत भाग्य विधाता। पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा, द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा, उच्छल जलधि तरंगा। तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तव जय गाथा। जन गण मंगल दायक
Thank you, everyone. So we are signing off from this inauguration session, and we look forward to your participation in the first technical session, which will start at 12 noon and will be a 2-hour session till 2 o'clock. We have already shared the Google Meet link with all the participants, paper presenters, and resource person. We look forward to your presence virtually in the said session. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you and all the best.
Thank you.